We're with Michael Matthew, the one and only. He's got over 100 billionaires on his cell phone. Michael, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I am the $1 billion connector, also known as Power Baller, also known as Michael Matthew. And that's me, baby. Boom.
Okay. So today we want to actually talk business. You guys have probably started to see that Michael is posting content on social media, especially Instagram right now. And you know he's always around girls, new yachts, cars, all that fancy shit, watches, all that. But there's a reason that you guys are able to see him in this way. There's a reason why you see him around these millionaires and these billionaires, and it's why you see him all over Miami. It's because he actually knows what he's doing when it comes to building relationships and climbing to the absolute top. This dude goes to Mar-a-Lago pretty much every single week, and I actually want to start by asking you, Michael, how did you actually get access to Mar-a-Lago, and not just once, but every single week? It seems like you must be tapped in with the Trump family themselves.
Oh, yeah, they know me, but a lot of members like having me around. They always invite me to dinner. They always invite me to do their events. I just sold out. I was the co-host of the Hispanic Prosperity Gala, and there was like 1,200 people. It was one of the most packed out events of the year, and I helped co-host that, and I just sell out events. Anytime I'm a part of something, it always gets sold out or it's in high demand, and they just like having me around. I have expertise, I look at it like this, if you're worth $1 billion and I'm friends with somebody worth 25 billion, the guy worth 1 billion is trying to get to 25, and maybe he doesn't know the guy worth 25, but I do. And so having me in their presence is a good chance for them to meet those people, because if those people see me, or I have them in my phone, I could make a call if I want to put them in that circumstance of meeting those people. So having me around just increases your odds, almost like the lottery, to winning, to winning big.
Okay. And you've got over 100 billionaires on your cell phone. Everything you're saying makes sense, and the person watching the video, they'll be like, yeah, that makes sense, but how the fuck, like, if you know nobody, how the fuck do you put yourself in a position like that? Most people, they see it as impossible. They don't even want to try. How the fuck are you going to be shaking hands with, people who do business with Donald Trump when you don't know anybody and you live in a one-bedroom apartment?
Right, so it doesn't start with billionaires. It starts with millionaires, or even if you can't meet a millionaire, it starts with just people that have a successful mindset, people that are going in that direction. I never knew I was going to be the $1 billion connector. I never wanted to be. It just evolved into that. So I think that it's super important to kind of embrace that ethic and what we do in business and go forward towards a trajectory up. But being in the right places, being around where people hang out, where billionaires hang out or millionaires, going to these extracurricular activities such as poker games or hotels or specific things where these people of high net worth hang out, that's like super important. Being in the room with them will emulate that energy.
That makes sense. And so they have context, list off some of, I guess, your most well-known clients, people that you've worked with, made money with. Kind of tell them a little bit about your actual client base.
Well, I'm under a lot of NDAs with certain people, but I could tell you some of my companies that are clients instead of individuals. I've worked with Taiwan Semiconductor. I've worked with Warner Brothers, New Line Cinema, Google, Oracle. I've worked with SoftBank Ventures. I've worked with Sequoia Capital. I've worked with Andreessen Horowitz. I've worked with KKR. I've worked with Lazard and Rothschild & Co. I mean, these are some of the biggest names in the history of the world, and I have a lot of contacts all over, and they're some of the companies that not only use me, but I bring deal flow to them, or we have some relationship on a friend level. So there's 3 different levels. There's people that I bring value to, that bring value to me. There's people that are just my friends to be cool by association. And then there's 3 people I make money with and make money for, and that make me money. So there's different levels to the relationship, but I'm okay with all 3. I don't mind. If you just want to be my friend, I'll be your friend. If you just want to, have access, we could do that too. And if you want to make money, we can make money. So I don't limit anybody to what they could do with me.
Okay, that makes sense. And right now we're at the Beach Club Hotel. I'm pretty sure here in Boca Raton. This is it's a private area. You can't just walk up in here. Most people will never have access. Can you tell them like who lives here and who do you know? Who are you connected to here? Um, and how do you have the ability to just walk around like you own the place?
Well, so one of my close friends, he's on the board with Michael Dell, and Michael Dell owns this resort. And I pretty much have a gold card here, and I'm friends with a lot of members here, and I bring my business here, and I advertise here for the hotel. I make it look good. I bring my billionaires here. I bring celebrities here. I bring, just Prince Harry. The other day I saw him. He was here. So royalty stays here. All the biggest billionaires, celebrities, J-Lo. I was here with Alex Rodriguez a month and a half ago. So you name it, they come to Boca. When they come to Boca, they come here. And so, going from Palm Beach to Boca to Miami, this is my central location. And as you see, it's absolutely beautiful here.
Yeah. So I guess since you've done business with billionaires, multimillionaires, massive corporations that pretty much everyone in America is aware of. How do you how do you talk to these type of people? Because they must talk different than the average guy. Like, how do you navigate these relationships when it just comes to communication in general? I think that's something that a lot of people that are just sitting at home would want some insight into.
You have to have basic or semi-advanced knowledge of the industry, at least if that's where you start, or you start talking about mutual things. Like Michael Jordan loves deep sea fishing. I love deep sea fishing. So there's automatic connect. Some billionaires love horses, right? So some of them love riding, their kids ride. Try to figure out or be at least an authority on these subjects that these people are doing. Do research. What do these people do? A lot of them go boating. A lot of them go yachting. A lot of them play paddle. A lot of them play golf, right? If you know basic knowledge about golf, or maybe the top 5 stars like Rory McIlroy or Dustin Johnson, things that could stimulate conversation that will lead to other stuff. Now, obviously, if you're not a software engineer and you don't know anything about, software, you could just do enough research to know what's going on. But at least have basic research to have a conversation and learn more. Whenever I talk to these Silicon Valley billionaires, they're always talking about AI advancement or data or cybersecurity, and I am well tuned and well versed on all these topics. I mean, we could talk about 200 years in financial history or the Napoleon War and, just anything. We could talk about Antarctica, and I know about it. So I've trained myself to be well versed in every single aspect. Probably the only thing I'm not that great at is sports. So hopefully, like Jerry Jones, who owns the Cowboys, doesn't always want to talk about sports all the time because he owns the damn team, right? But he loves super yachts and he loves the ocean and activities like that. So, whenever I see Jerry, I'll talk about, aquatic sports or something like that. So I try to gear my positioning not towards something they hear every day.
Yeah. And I think that's important, standing out, being unique, being different. I think that's one reason why you and I were able to even connect in the first place. So I guess when it comes to building these massive connections, how have you been able to stand out, be different? Is it intentional, unintentional? Do you just fully lean into who you are and you're just authentic and genuine with your approach? Or what really do you think made you stand out to even be able to catch the attention of these people in the first place?
Yeah, it's a strategic missile approach. I call it the heat seeker. And what I do is I calculated exactly what industries and what sparks interest with these billionaires and these high net worth companies. They like somebody interesting, active, smart, intelligent, and desirable. And I believe I hit all different properties of that on a massive scale. And that's why when you see me at events, I always have 2 beautiful women on my arm. Or I always have some gear towards, like when I go to Silicon Valley events, I wear my glasses, right? I just do certain things that apply towards advancement of that ecosystem. And I think more people need to do that. I think the most valuable probably ecosystem in the world is the software. Everything runs on software. The wealthiest people in the world are on software or using platforms such as Facebook or Oracle or Nvidia, right? Their software and hardware. So the most valuable stuff, and I tend to gear myself towards the Silicon Valley executives. There was a funny story. Somebody once called me the shark of Silicon Valley. And obviously you heard of the Wolf of Wall Street, but I would go around Silicon Valley and hang out with the guys from Google, the guys from Facebook, the guys from Snapchat. Like every single company, I was always at their table, and they loved me. And I would just learn stuff from each person, what they were doing, how they were doing it. When Yahoo, my buddy was the CFO of Yahoo, he was doing a lot of different stuff. So I got to learn aspects of all that and apply it. So that's my main gear is, I believe technology is creating the wealthiest people in the world. And even though AI is going to replace a lot of people's business, relationship-based action and activity will never be replaced, because that takes human emotion and actual putting in creative work that an AI will most likely not be able to do, at least to the human species, right? Most people are, if a robot walks up to them, it's going to be different having a conversation knowing it's a robot versus an actual human being. So I'm very confident in my business of being in hospitality and being an actual super connector that our job is never going away.
That makes sense. So with all that being said, let's just get very broad with it, very general. This will apply to anybody still watching this. What are the 3 biggest mistakes that you think you can make as an entrepreneur, or even just somebody trying to make it to the very top and do business with the elite?
Well, number 1 is talking too much. I've seen so many people talk themselves out of a big investment or an acquisition or a deal or just anything. Sometimes you just let the process roll, and speeding it up or slowing it down could absolutely devastate the outcome of your business trajectory. So I've seen that happen a lot. Also, ego. Ego's a big thing. Sometimes you gotta, eat a little humble pie out there and accept, especially dealing with other people. I've seen so many people get their egos get in the way of making $1 billion. I recently knew a kid who he had a $3 billion company, and he just thought it would never go away and made a lot of wrong moves, started partying his life away. Well, I could just tell you the name of the company, Wish.com. And he was a cool dude. I used to party with him and everything, but I saw him party himself out of being a billionaire. And that was probably one of the worst stories ever. Smart guy, good looking dude, but just let Vegas swallow him up, and it turned into a really bad thing.
Yeah. Okay. And so the most important thing is to not talk too much. What's the second biggest mistake you could make?
Thinking what you have is irreplaceable. As I've learned, China will just replicate everything you have, no matter if you have patents or not. Thinking that you are invincible, thinking that you have something special, even though you may have had the idea originally, it will be duplicated and done better. So if there's a good opportunity, don't pass it up, be smart. But at the same time, if you see the competition nearing, just be on your toes, because a lot of times you'll see Blockbuster is a prime example. Blockbuster laughed at Netflix. And we're like, DVDs shipped to your house. They had no idea Netflix would evolve into a streaming giant and just not only blow them out of the water and bankrupt them, but innovate and become one of the staples of, I think they could have bought Netflix for $50 million or something, and the Blockbuster executives laughed at him and said, we wouldn't give you this on your best day, we'll give you $5 million. And they just stuck in there and they saw it. Even though DVDs delivered to you, it was super innovative, it just wasn't the destination, it wasn't the end game. And now they're one of the biggest content creators in the world. Stranger Things, you name it. I mean, some of the best shows on the planet have came out of Netflix. Meanwhile, Blockbuster is literally a fossil and a novelty item. The last Blockbuster in the world is somewhere, and people just go to take pictures of it because it just exists. So thinking you're, superior to somebody will copy your model and do it
BlackBerry and
better.
Apple.
BlackBerry and Apple. Everybody had a BlackBerry before they were talking about an Apple. It's funny, there's two fruits. It's a BlackBerry and an apple. And apple's the forbidden fruit, which says a lot because they almost failed a bunch of times, Apple, to where the company could have been defunct and they could have gave up. And then they fired Steve Jobs, and it's a true story of just moving and shaking your way into $1 trillion. And unfortunately, Steve Jobs didn't make it long enough to see it as $1 trillion company, but definitely one of the greatest stories in technology history.
I agree. And the final, third worst mistake you could make as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, chase women. I've seen so many entrepreneurs chase women or focus on women or get married and let that affect their life. Now, some entrepreneurs will marry a woman and she will bring him to the top, but when it goes bad, when the story gets nasty, the women always have. I had a good friend who was making like $3 million a month doing like email, and he was doing email marketing and just like killing it, and then he got a girlfriend and she was a toxic woman, and slowly he just started spending half that money on that. Then he started going on vacation and doing drugs with the girl, and then all of a sudden, he's not paying his taxes, right? And $25 million or $35 million later, he spent most of the money, and then the IRS raided his house because he didn't pay any taxes on that money. So not only did he not have the money anymore, because the email spam filters kind of got more advanced, it was harder to get in the inbox, but he owed the IRS like $15 million, and he didn't have the money. So they just took everything, and the girl left him, took his Maseratis and all the fancy cars, and he had to restart, but the business was never the same. He went from making $3 million a month, and then when he left it was $700,000, dwindled to $400,000. Next thing you know, he was making $80,000 a month, which is, obviously that's good money, but like when you're making $3 million a month and you're depending on technology. So she really brought him down and gave him a mindset of unfocusedness and instability. So just be careful what partner you choose, because that could, whether it's a man or a female, whatever you may be, that could be the end of you.
Right. So, 3 biggest mistakes that you can make as an entrepreneur from Michael Matthew himself. Number 1, don't talk too much. Number 2, don't think that what you have is irreplaceable or will last forever. Number 3, don't chase women, especially the wrong women. So, on the opposite side of that, I don't want to do 3 best things to do as an entrepreneur. I'd rather we just focus on the number 1 most important trait, characteristic, or belief that an entrepreneur has to have. Like, if there was one thing that you would say determines the probability of success with somebody who wants to make money, start a business, and race to the top, what is that one thing? The most important thing in your opinion?
Network. Your network is really your net worth. And some of the biggest people on the planet, like Larry Ellison and Sergey Brin, their network, inside their network, anything they do, it's just like Elon Musk when he wanted to buy Twitter, who wrote him a giant multi-billion-dollar check, his buddy Larry Ellison, right? And then they all follow suit. And even bringing Elon back into the topic, he was in with, getting people into the Republican Party. So Trump brought him in. So your network is like your octopus tentacles, and who you're associated with is major. So I believe, relationships and network are key, and your network's going to bring you to the next level in business, lifestyle, friendship, and just the whole passion of doing that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I agree. I mean, you said that shit without hesitation, because if you're best friends with Elon Musk, you're never gonna have to really struggle when it comes to making money. So, with that being said, though, what is the number 1 most important skill to building your network?
having social intelligence, knowing what market you're going for. Now, if I go meet somebody in AI, I'll talk about robotics, or I'll talk about, something that's going to stimulate that person. If I talk to a football player, I'm going to talk to him about, something I liked in that area. So social intelligence and engineering, one thing, when you came to me, I saw you in a Lamborghini and saw you were Asian. Those were the two things.
Right.
And I said to myself, here's a guy who obviously has a Lamborghini, he's successful, he likes nice things, luxury. And then here's a guy who's Asian. And I lived in China. I spent a lot of time in Asia dealing with Singapore and all that. So I had something you said like resonated with me, where I wanted to reach out to you. And I think taking those little pieces of everything you see, whether it's content or you see somebody's LinkedIn profile, taking that social intelligence and applying it to making the networking and relationship solidified. And I think I get a million cold messages a day off of LinkedIn, and it's just the same robotic shit. If somebody was like, hey bro, man, I'm gonna be out there in Palm Beach, let's have a drink at the Breakers, right? Well, I hang out at the Breakers, so automatically I could easily meet you at the Breakers. Everybody sounds like NPCs, and if you write me on LinkedIn right now and say, hey, I saw you work for Rothschild, I'm super interested in that, I'm gonna be in Palm Beach at a family office conference, let's grab a drink. There's a good chance I'm going to write you back. If I believe you're qualified. But if you just write me, hey man, I would love to show you a demo of something, you have to start with not selling me.
Right.
Don't sell. Just be yourself. And if I think you're valuable, or I think you are interesting, I'm going to want to hear more. And that's the most important thing.
There you have it. Social intelligence is the key to getting anything you want out of life, building the most elite network around you, and getting rich as fuck. Business masterclass from Powerballer, the $1 billion connector himself. Any last words?
Soon to be the $1 trillion connector, baby. Boom, boom, boom.